one more kind of like umbrella topic, and I'll start by just asking you, what percentage of your students, if you were to take a guess, are women?
98%.
Okay. So,
Maybe 97.5%. I don't know.
uh, well, as one of
Yeah.
the 2.5%, I mean, that makes me laugh because that tracks with my experience as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
common that a man joins your class and is like a one-off and doesn't come back?
It's really varied. It kind of depends on what class it is. Like for a long time, I had a Tuesday night class, which was some really powerful kick-ass women.
Yeah.
They were big energy, big stories, and a man, like no man ever made it through an entire session. I think they were just super intimidated and like they thought maybe this would be a little more craft oriented or a little
Uh-huh.
more like they weren't ready for the big inside, like divine feminine, this is my big story and I own it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just guessing, but
Sure, sure.
not a lot of men made it through that. But then I've had men who I think are really special, like yourself, and are really open to the process of getting vulnerable, writing about feelings, listening to other people write about feelings, writing about growth, and um, who have been stick and stayers. I do have a few men who've really over time shown up consistently, or even just consistently for a few sessions or a
Mhm.
few years.
Do you
And I
think,
think that's great.
yeah, I mean, do you think of vulnerability and sharing and sort of like tapping feelings? Do you think of those as feminine qualities?
Not inherently.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that we are definitely like raised in such a way that it mostly shows up in the feminine.
yeah,
But I don't think that, I mean, I think if when men were little boys, they were given modeled by other men, if they were
yeah,
given examples of that kind of modeling, and then we would have a lot more sensitive, um, accustomed to being vulnerable, showing up in writing classes and for therapy, and
yeah,
to do this kind of work, there would be a lot more men.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that your note, for one, I would be super curious to go back in time and try that Tuesday night group we used to do and like see if I'm curious, like could I hang?
Could you think?
Uh,
I think you could. I think you
yeah,
could. I mean, just from the start, the look on their, it was like,
yeah,
before it even
yeah,
really got rolling. And then
yeah.
when somebody would talk about their period or whatever, they'd be just like,
I'm
"Ding."
out. Yeah. Yeah. I do think there's something to the like strength in numbers thing too, where like if 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 a guy is sort of, and this is speaking in general terms, but if a guy
Yeah.
is like put on the stage and be like, write openly and then share, it can be hard. But if there's other men in the room that are doing the same thing,
Yeah.
some of the work I do beyond my writing classes, some of the more discussion based like workshops, it's remarkable to me, number one, how difficult it can be to get men in the door for this kind of
Right.
work, but then how quickly those walls come down and guys are like, oh, like you have a story about how your dad ridiculed you,
Yeah.
in front of a bunch of other guys when you were 7 and you've never forgotten. It's interesting. I have a story about, you know, the time I wanted to get my ear pierced and my dad was like, I'll never speak to you if you do that, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those stories are there for guys too. Obviously, they're there for guys too.
Yeah. You're so right. Like, if you feel like you're the only one in a room in whatever capacity, I think it's why we have a teacher right now teaching the sisters gather writing blood
Yeah,
letters.
Noah.
And,
Yeah,
and it's a really wonderful place for Black women to come and to be able to write without having to make any considerations or thought of a white person in the room.
right.
Women write differently when it's all women. I'm sure men write differently when it's all men. I think the LGBTQ community really benefits from having some spaces where that are completely safe and everyone can relate. And so there are benefits to finding your likeness
Yeah.
and being able to relate in that way. And then there are also huge benefits in gathering people from all
Yep.
different sectors and putting them in the room together. And each one has its different pros.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. As you started that thought, my mind went to the same place of there being like really big upsides to both.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
Well, it's always interesting to hear your little anecdotes about men who've joined over the years, because I love when I can get in a group of other guys who want to share.
Yeah.
And I definitely still carry like it's easier for me to be open and vulnerable and talk about my feelings around women than it is for men still.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So I taught one class of all women. My very, very first class of adults ever was women. And then so for my next session, a man signed up and I completely flipped out. I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
There's a man in the class. Like, I really felt like it was as if a Martian had come to Earth and signed up for my writing class. It was like, but that very first night, I was like, oh, man equals human.
Yeah.
I mean, and God, what a learning experience for me.
Yeah.
I mean, what judgment and craziness I had around really just trying to accept men in a completely different way than I had before. And now I'm always excited when there's a man. What an opportunity here to learn about each other, to open our understanding of humanity, all of these things.
Yeah.